Welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. Today we're at the head office of Parle Agro and we're here to meet Nadia Chauhan, the company's joint MD and Chief Marketing Officer. When Nadia joined the business in 2003, nearly 95% of the company's revenues came from the iconic brand Frooti. Today, Frooti's contribution is reduced to 48%, with the balance coming from brands such as Appy Fizz, Bailey, and the recently launched Smoodh. What's the strategy behind launching and sustaining new brands? Let's find out as we get ready to melt with Nadia Chauhan. So Nadia, you've been at Parle Agro for 20 years now. It was 300 crores in 2003 when you joined to 8,000 crores today. It's been a good run. What's the secret of this success?
Firstly, when you say 20 years, it sort of doesn't feel like that at all.
You don't look old enough to be a 20-year veteran of a company.
But it's been actually it has been an amazing journey. It's been so exciting to be able to, take the brands forward, build so many new categories and, add so many more brands to the portfolio. I think that for any FMCG company, success actually lies in being able to establish a very, very solid distribution system. And that is the heart at the end of the day of any FMCG company. And India, of course, poses so many opportunities, so many challenges, but it's been really exciting, really dipping into that and building the company from strength to strength in so many different ways, whether it's from the sales and distribution system to the brands, to getting into new product categories, to so much that we've done around just brand building and advertising. That has also sort of helped us scale up a lot of the new categories that we've created. It's been exciting, and there's a long way to go. I think that we're a very ambitious company, and our goal is to really be the #1 beverage company in India. So we still have a long way to go.
Is distribution a sufficient moat in the category that you're in?
For us, we're designed as a company that creates brands that need to deliver scale. We don't operate at a very niche level. I mean, not really invested as much in niche brand categories. Mm-hmm. Our goal is really to be able to reach the length and breadth of the country and really be able to cater to everybody. Having said that, the only way is through a very solid sales and distribution system. Today, if we look at FMCG, crosses more than 9 million retail stores in India. It's very, very large. And beverages is now almost at 5 million retail stores across India. So if there is success, it will only be because of a solid sales and distribution system, without which you can have the best brands, the best products, incredible advertising, great packaging, whatever, and it will be worth nothing unless you've got a very, very solid sales and distribution system in place.
Now, speaking of brand, the Parle Agro brand is as well known as your sub-brands, Frooti, Appy, Bailey's. Is that by design or is that something that just happened?
There's so much history to the name Parle, and I think that, it's a homegrown brand in that sense from way back when the business originated with, at that point, confectioneries, when all the businesses were, the parts were together. So I think that Parle, of course, has built over time because of the various different businesses that run independently now, but still hold the same common name, perhaps also a lot of common values, though might not be articulated, but all still there, whether it's being Indian and so proudly Indian, whether it's just quality, trust, all of that. So I think that it's primarily a factor of just the big history that's associated with the name Parle. Not as much by perhaps design, because we do invest a lot in building our individual brands. So Frooti has never, or Appy Fizz, none of these brands actually bank on just the name Parle. Of course, that endorses it, but it's not built. Each brand is built, strongly and independently as well.
You invest a fair bit in the design of the brand, not just in the marketing of the brand.
Right.
Not many FMCG companies invest as much in design as you do. How do you measure the ROI on that investment in design?
When you look at how to measure it, of course, you measure it because of just the top of mind that you create because of good design. When you see something that you like, you remember it. And I think in a category like ours, which is highly driven by impulse, top of mind plays a very, very important role. So when we actually started off this journey of building brands through design, we found that it had such a massive impact on just the perception of consumers towards our brand, to the kind of top of mind that we were able to establish for our brands. It's been very exciting to approach, building brands through design. It's really, really a very strong tool and highly underused within the category. And in a market like India, where there's so much clutter, you need to stand out through good design.
The last few months, Nadia, we've seen ads for Smoodh and Appy Fizz on hoardings all over the country. Right? What's the strategy behind this OOH, out-of-home heavy ad spend?
I think it's just, as I said right now, is to be able to scale the impact of our investments on design and the whole visual language that we create around our brands. We found, back when we relaunched Frooti, that was the first time we invested as heavily in out of home. We found that it really helps to sort of build that visual space for the brand. The static communication really creates that impact in building that visual space. It complements television, it complements the other mediums, really well. And when you've created this universe or this whole world for your brand that looks so beautiful, you need to be able to put it out there. So beyond just the 30 seconds on television that just come and go. But I think that a lot of these other mediums play such an important
And are you
role.
experimenting with digital out-of-home formats?
We are.
What's been the experience there?
It's so limited still, but it's been good. It's a nice. It also helps to sometimes if spaces become like a blind spot. I think the movement in digital out of home formats allow it to, they just make you pay a little bit more attention as well. So it's been good, but I think that in terms of just being able to achieve the impact through the colors and the rest of it, I think nothing compares to just the traditional static hoarding.
Especially the giant ones we see in the city of Mumbai.
That's right.
A closely allied question would be your choice of brand ambassadors for each of these brands. Is there a matrix that you use to select your brand ambassadors?
The brands are defined, based on certain personality and, brand attributes. And we look at, marrying that with the right brand ambassador who can bring the same energy, the same sort of personality back into the brands. That's an important part. But also we try to drive a lot more cut through and scale, and that is the reason to take on a brand ambassador. So we look at people who have, fair amount of success, have been able to sort of cut through, create that scale, have that impact, build up that level of, star value, and, borrow that when we sign them on.
And your latest brand ambassador, of course, is Kriti Sanon for Appy Fizz.
Yes, that's right.
Celebrity endorsements definitely work. There's no two ways about that. Is it measurable? You can measure the ROI on this?
They do work, but perhaps I'm not sure if it's controversial to say or not, but I think that there is a big shift that's currently happening. I think that the whole industry over the last couple of years has perhaps gone through quite a bit.
Right.
And so you do see a big shift that's happening. I also think that the extent of overexposure currently through social media of a lot of Bollywood stars or celebrities has led to a little, flattening of that curve of the excitement that it creates for consumers. So I think that you have to have the right brand ambassador who's still, playing by the book in that sense of creating that big aura and creating that sense of fascination and that fandom and the rest of it. But if you don't, then it perhaps won't work.
What about influencers, Nadia? There's been this rise of the influencer, and influencers are competing with celebrities these days.
That's right.
Do influencers play a role in your marketing strategy?
Not as much at the moment. I think more tactically when we are trying to perhaps, like for example, we've worked with a lot of influencers for Smoodh, which is our flavored milk brand, and we also have a range of yogurt beverages under Smoodh. And we worked with a lot of influencers to, do a little bit more micro targeting of consumers. Still, the scale at which we're trying to sort of create impact, they're definitely there, but it's a while to go before they become a large part of, our advertising mix.
Now let's talk about pricing. You have a strong focus on this 10 rupee price point. When I get friends from outside India who come and say this is 10 rupees and they're shocked that something like this can be made,
right,
distributed, sold, marketed, sold, and a profit can be made on 10 rupees. Tell us how this 10 rupees
scale
works.
It's just scale. I mean, the only way it can work is if you can deliver scale. So you can't, make anything of it unless you're able to deliver that really large scale. Especially because we are launching so many new categories, products that perhaps a lot of consumers have not tried before or have no experience, haven't consumed. It becomes so important to actually be able to launch at a price point that can start them off. And then, of course, scale up, because we don't just have the 10 rupees, we then, of course, have the 12 and the 15 and 20, and it, just sort of goes upwards. But the 10 rupee price point allows you to be able to develop the categories in rural. Smoodh again is a great example. Of course, Appy Fizz, but that's been around for a while. But our most recent example is of Smoodh. When we looked at getting into the milk category, we were quite clear that if we're going to get into dairy beverages, we don't want to do it again as a niche. You have to be able to create scale. And the 10 rupee price point allowed us to create this whole category in the rural market. It never existed there. So that's really a very, very big accomplishment in that sense. And because we try to get into these new spaces and be able to scale them up, and we have to be at a price that's affordable and people can really try.
And 10 rupees is the psychological point where people are willing to try something new?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Now you have a portfolio of delicious drinks, I can say. Frooti, Appy, Smoodh. All of them contain sugar, Nadia, and many people are swearing off sugar, especially in urban India. Right? How does this impact your marketing strategy?
My views on this are very.
It's not controversial views. Just saying.
Not controversial, but it's a whole session altogether. Yes, it's true that a lot of people are averse to having products that have got sugar in them, or they're staying away from sugar. But when you look at a market like India, okay, it's still a very, when you talk about the urban market as well, you're still referring even within the urban market
to the Bandra West market.
You are. Yeah,
okay.
Perhaps just, a few of us. So it's not what companies that are still driving that kind of distribution, that kind of scale, to the point where if you are to put out a product which has no sugar in it, I don't know who you will sell to. When you compare to the West, of course, it's very different. And which is why even when we looked at getting into Smoodh, when we said that we want to be able to build a portfolio that is, say, leaning on the healthier side, we started off with dairy beverages. You can't start off with things that you see in the West because they don't have a market yet over here. Okay. There's a long way to go. And we will get there for sure as a consumer market that's conscious about what we're eating and drinking. But it's a long, long way.
In 2003, Frooti accounted for 95% of your revenues?
Yes.
Now it's about 46-48%?
That's right.
But it's still 46-48%.
That's right.
What are your plans for Frooti?
So Frooti has been, growing at a very, very healthy rate year after year. The plan, and we've been gaining market share, quite aggressively. The plan is, of course, to make sure Frooti gets to the #1 position. We've owned the whole mango drink space with Frooti, and over the next perhaps 3 to 5 years, we might look at a lot more innovation and expansion in, extending that mango experience into maybe different kind of formats. But it's been a very, very strong brand that's established. It's almost generic also to the category now. And we're going to continue to keep driving it through packaging innovation and, different pack formats and pricing strategies to cater to different consumer occasions and needs.
And there are many startups who are trying to gain exactly the same market share, from paperboard to a whole bunch of the others. Do you track these startups and do you see them as serious competition?
We track them, of course, as we would track the category and in general, players within it. Competition would be when you do see somebody really investing in a solid sales and distribution system, not just in new products and, new packaging and products.
Do you think the startups could use digital technology to sort of leapfrog and achieve the kind of scale that you have using digital technologies, digital distribution?
Very tough. When you talk
it's
about
a three-layered distribution
yes, absolutely,
system is a hard one to beat.
Absolutely.
But tell us, what has been your experience of the digital transformation at Parle Agro?
For us, our entire digital transformation, or the integration of digital into the sales system, was primarily driven by the fact that we just wanted to be able to, really be very connected with the market and take a lot more decisions quicker. That is a big USP also for us as a company, is the fact that we can really take decisions quick and respond to the market almost real time. Initially, when we started off with integrating IT into the entire sales system and automating the entire sales process, it's intimidating, when you start off. For a lot of the people who have to actually use that and start creating that as a habit, it's very, very intimidating. So I think it took a couple of years for people to really, accept that bit of change or that transformation altogether. Having then finally implemented it, it allowed us to be really, really connected with the market at real-time level, really know what's happening across these, we go to about 2 million stores, so really know what's happening across these 2 million stores, refine our strategies, be able to act on what the market really needs, make us that alert. And I think that we operate in a very competitive market space, in a, fast moving market space. So just having that edge allowed us to really be able to, to capture every opportunity that came up.
So what's the secret to being both a giant in the market and being nimble at the same time? Giants usually aren't nimble. Elephants can't dance, as the cliche goes. What's the secret to making the elephant dance?
It's part of the culture. It's just defined as also part of the culture, that while we might be at scale, we like to think like we're still, building scale. Yes. So, and as an outcome, it's very close knit. There's a lot of transparency, a core team that, drives a lot of the larger vision. So it's all of that. And in general, it's defined as part of our culture, as a system that's just very transparent and can move and act very quickly.
Okay, speaking of transparent, let's talk about water. Now, water is water is water. There are so many companies selling water. As a marketer, how do you differentiate water from another brand of water?
When I originally joined the company, like you said, 20 years ago, and I said what you just said, water is water. And I remember at that point of time how I upset my dad by saying that, and had to be trained to actually taste all the different waters and be able to identify what
Can you tell
is.
in a blind test?
I can tell what,
which one is
I can tell in a
Baileys,
blind
which
test.
one is
Yes.
distillery, which one is a rival?
Absolutely. It's hard maybe to believe, but the fact is water has all the different brands of water out there. They taste different.
But the marketing is never based on taste.
No, it's not. And there isn't as much marketing behind it, because a lot of the whole category dynamics are very, very different. It's driven by, again, distribution, being available, because consumers are going to come there and ask for perhaps packaged water, or,
and there are hundreds of clones of your brands I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. There are many.
Similar sounding brand names.
In fact, this is one category where I think in BIS there are maybe more than 10,000 brands registered of water. Every local area will have a different brand of water, and that's what went into defining our entire business strategy for the brand, which was that we had to be local. So instead of, unlike our beverage brands, which are manufactured at maybe 8-10 plants across the country, our water brand is manufactured in more than 50 plants across the country. We're a national brand, so to be able to compete on logistics costs or all of that, which matters so much in this category, we really localized our strategy altogether. It's been actually, for even Bailey today is growing at almost 35%.
35% even at this scale.
Yes, okay. That's right. And it's been very exciting. Of course, COVID had a huge impact on the other segment of water, which is the bulk segment, especially institutional buyers, the 20-liter jars, because of everybody moving to work from home. That had a big impact. But we're seeing all this come back, and we're also seeing a huge opportunity in taking some of these packs to homes and not just to institutions.
Okay. Traditional TV in your marketing mix, what role does it play vis-a-vis digital?
It's still a big component of our entire marketing mix. It's still almost maybe 60-70% of our total advertising spend is still, traditional TV. It's still what gives you scale. There are very large platforms, of course, that happen to be, on air right in the middle of summer, like IPL, which has been around through summer for a while now. So a lot of that impact comes through TV, and of course digital is an important one. It's all coming up, it's growing. You can't ignore digital, or you can't have a small spend there. It's also a big bulk. But
what when summer's over? What happens to these brands and the marketing strategy? How do you keep them relevant after this summer season?
Of course, through just presence is the most critical. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how
distribution, presence, availability,
just
stores,
all of it.
That seems to be the.
It is what it is. It is the heart of, absolutely, the crux of the business. So everything else only supports that. Everything. I mean, you make magic when the sales and marketing team really work together, and that's really that sweet spot. Over the years, we've worked on trying to, lessen the seasonality impact. You see that generally in the beverage industry, there's a big dip in business during the monsoons and also in the winters. And we've worked on various initiatives over the years to try and reduce that kind of seasonality impact. Some of the categories and brands that we have actually gone into seeing now a flat curve through the year and not being impacted as much with the traditional sense of seasonality that the beverage industry used to be impacted by.
Okay, Nadia, let's ask a not so pleasant question. The more you succeed, the more companies like Parle Agro are going to be blamed for the glut of garbage in the world and litter in the world. Does this bother you, and what are you doing about it?
I think about 5 years or so ago, I could be wrong about the time frame, but we basically committed to recycling 100% of whatever we are putting into the market, and that is our way of playing our part. So as much plastic or materials that we're using and putting into the market, we've committed, and every year we recycle that quantity.
Okay, Nadia, final question. You work with 2 of your siblings. You are the youngest of 3 daughters. What's the secret? How come all of you have managed to maintain harmony over the years?
I think we have to credit our dad for that. Perhaps the fact that he really defined our roles so beautifully, marrying it to our individual strengths and capabilities. So we all complement each other, and we also understand the fact that together we're much stronger because we're playing very unique role in the growth of the company, and all of us are very committed to growing the company and achieving that #1 position.
So no sibling rivalry here?
No, none at all.
Thank you, Nadia Chauhan. Thank you for talking to Melt.
Thank you.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode. You can follow Melt on social media. The handle is Ready to Melt, or simply log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm @Suvenk on Twitter. Till next week, goodbye and thanks for watching.